Yo, welcome back to another episode of Transformation Chamber. I am super excited. As usual, I have amazing guests, but this guest is particularly special today. My friend from long time ago.
Long time ago.
Miss Tashara Parker. What's up, Tashara? How you feeling?
Hey, I'm good.
So
glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you, man. And you got me out here in Dallas, Texas.
Hey, he drove all the way to the Big D to get the interview. It's all good.
I mean, listen, you're doing amazing things. You're doing major things. So I had to do it. So me and Joe packed up and we came out here. Let me give y'all a little bit about Mr. Tashara and then we'll jump into it. So you're a journalist, host, media personality, news anchor, killing it all, a community storyteller.
Yeah. Community-Focused Storyteller.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that and how you got here.
I try my best to tell stories that focus on a community. I think a lot of times when folks watch the news, some of the things that they see, most of the things that they see are things that are not positive images when it comes to minority communities, specifically Black communities. And so one of the things that I wanted to do as a community-focused storyteller was inherently do what I needed to do to tell good stories that showed Black people in a positive light, that show minorities in a positive light.
I love it.
I think that's important. And it's something that's going to be long lasting. You know, you'll hear about a shooting one day. Okay, 2 weeks later, nobody's worried about that.
Right.
But the stories that I tell are stories that I feel like will live on, stories that people can piggyback off of, stories that they can come back and look at, stories that they can show their kids, 10, 20, 30 years from now.
For sure.
So that's what I focus on. How I got here, I started in journalism, 2014. After grad school, I went to grad school in Chicago, but I'm from Houston.
Yeah, man.
Went to grad school, interned quite a few places. After interning, got my first job in College Station, Texas, which, is crazy because that's where I went to undergrad at.
Okay.
So to get your first, Texas A&M University, to get your first job working in a city where you went to school at is almost unheard of. So anyway, first job in College Station, moved to Tyler, Texas, and that's when things really started to get crazy, and I really started to come into my own.
Absolutely.
From Tyler
I
to
remember
Dallas.
seeing, I don't know if it was your Instagram, but I just remember seeing your face starting to circulate a lot more, and they loved you in Tyler.
I know, I loved them back.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you have your own day in Tyler, Texas?
I do have Tashara Parker Day in
Come
Tyler,
on,
Texas.
man. I'm just saying. That's what's up, man.
Yeah, man, I love my people. The mayor made sure that happened, and lots of people did work to get Tashara Parker Day.
I mean, it's important. You're telling important stories, and then the amount of passion you exude in your work, it leaks all over. You can see it. You can feel it. So after Tyler, you matriculated to
Dallas
here,
which is also unheard of. A lot of times in journalism, you have to go through a series of different cities. So you go from small, medium, then medium, you go to semi, large, and then you get to a larger market. Dallas is the number 6 market, if I'm not mistaken, number 6 or 7.
Nice.
It kind of fluctuates out of 200 plus TV markets across the country. So to go from Tyler, which was market, I believe 114 at the time, maybe 110, it was down there, to get to Dallas and have people calling me to get to Dallas was it's a huge deal, and it's such a blessing because it's so funny. I used to drive. Tyler's only an hour, maybe 15 minutes from Dallas. And so I used to drive from Tyler to Dallas for different reasons, whether it was to get my hair done or take pictures.
It's cool, you know what I'm saying? If you watching on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel, by the way. You can see this beautiful queen right here.
And so I used to drive to Dallas to get my hair done, my natural hair done. Because I didn't feel like we had a whole lot of people in Tyler, and the 1 or 2 people I did go to was always booked up because they were really good at their jobs. So anyway, I used to drive to Dallas to get my hair done, and I would talk to women in Dallas, Black women in Dallas, and say, there's no way Dallas is our next market. So they'll be like, well, why you won't just come to Dallas? I'm like, it doesn't work like that. It's not that easy to come to Dallas from Tyler, from such a smaller market.
Exactly.
And so when they saw that I was coming here, they was like, girl, a year ago, we were talking about how you were basically fearful that a city as big as Dallas or Houston wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's just been a blessing, man.
That's what's up,
It's
man.
crazy.
That's what's up. Okay, you talked about, there's a few things I want to get into. You talked about how you are here to tell stories of people of color in a positive light.
Yeah.
And right now, currently, I think in the media, you're kind of going through a little backlash for this piece you did on these, it was a piece about school.
It was a piece about school.
And you focused on Black children. And somebody said, well, why don't we see any representation of white kids or something like that? Right.
So I did, and it wasn't necessarily a piece, right? It was just a story where we reached out to families, and I reach out to people all the time, by the way. I have groups where I reach out to people all the time, asking for feedback, asking for videos, whatever it is,
right,
to accomplish whatever I'm trying to do for that week. And I do this every week, by the way.
Wow.
And so I always feature different people. And just so happened this time around, it was 5 Black students. This was just a story about the students going back to school. It had no track in it, meaning I didn't speak in the story at all. It was simply 5 young people telling me exactly how they felt about virtual learning, how the school year has been, and really just expressing their thoughts. Nothing to do with race, nothing to do with anything outside of those young, brilliant intellectuals telling me how they felt about this school year. And so the email that I received after that, my station received, because they sent it to the station, the email that my station received after was basically saying, hey, and by the way, I looked this person up and she is an educator. And I was just like, really?
Wow.
Like, really? Retired educator. So anyway, the email that she sent basically said, you know, you showed only Black kids. If it had been the other way around, you guys will be hollering discrimination. And I'm paraphrasing. That's not a direct quote, paraphrasing, but basically saying if had it been the other way around with just white kids, there will be backlash. I'm like, girl, we've been watching just white people on the news for the last how long? Now, don't get it twisted. Like, yeah, we got Black anchors, Black reporters.
Right.
And yes, you'll see Black people on the news, but at the same time, consistent, good coverage of Black people doesn't really happen very often in most news markets. Now, don't get it twisted. You probably got some major cities or some cities in general that are getting it right, but a lot of people don't. And so that's one of the things that I'm aiming to change. And that email in particular that we received was one of the reasons why I continue doing what I'm doing. Because people don't understand that. What difference does it make if you see only Black kids? You didn't complain when you only saw white kids in the story.
Absolutely.
So you don't complain when you only see white experts on our air. So what is the point of sending something like that if you truly want to embrace this whole, diversity and all of these different initiatives that these companies are coming up with? Like, look, if we're going to truly embrace it, like, let's embrace it and let's do it.
Let's do it all the way. Like, not just because it's a fad right now. It's easy to talk about.
That's why it's so hard, because right after George Floyd, everybody was so hyped and so geeked about making this happen. And now it's like, oh, so we going back, behind our little curtains because we didn't put a little statement out there. Like, no, it doesn't stop there. You got to keep going.
Absolutely, undoubtedly. It's a daily thing. It's a daily grind. And we have to, honestly, us as Black people too, we have to show up proud of who we are, not hiding anymore. Like, just, this is who I am. This is what I do, accept it or not. Like, I know, speaking of which, I saw one lady, she was just like giving you props on Instagram. She was like, who is this Black woman on the news? Ooh. Yeah, I need to send it to you. Like, she was like, you wear your natural hair all the time. She was like, I'm in love with this Black sister. And I thought you saw it. I need to find it. It was on, it was a lady. She was just like, whatever y'all doing down there in Dallas, I'm loving it. Like, she was going in, and I was like, yo, that's what's up. Like, so speaking of representation, man, you're doing a awesome job of representing just Black women in general, but Black people as well. Yeah. And
we're multifaceted though, so don't get it twisted. It's a whole lot of different variations.
Oh yeah.
Of Black folks. So
this speaks to the fact that you've been nominated for Best Journalist, correct?
Yes,
right.
By Dallas Weekly.
There we go. And so and it makes sense though. Like, again, your stories are always great. It's fun to hear. It's fun to see you, especially just knowing you, knowing how you've grown. It's fun to see you just going after it. Yeah. And then what I really love is how even though news anchors have, I don't know what you would call it, y'all speak with certain type of diction,
certain cadence, intonation.
Every now and then that Houston, Texas.
And it needs to, because I try my best to sound like me, but it's just sometimes when you're in the studio, it's like, you want to make sure all your words coming out and all that, but. Yeah, man, I try to sound like me. And I love that the Houston comes out because it needs to all the time.
So let's talk about transformation, right? That's the whole premise of this show. Just thinking about, if I look at your Instagram right now, if I look at your life, it just seems like you're killing it and you winning, and every day is great for Tashara Parker.
Yeah, and it's not.
It's not. Let's talk about, maybe first going back to A&M. Yeah. Going to a predominantly white school. Yeah. Coming from... how would you describe North Forest?
Black, and we had a few other races there.
But it was like 90.
Yeah, it was about 90 some percent black.
And then to be fair and honest, and I'm also a product of North Forest, it was probably underneath the average education standard of Texas, if you want to be real. And then you went
more than underneath. I mean, we got investigated for so many different things within the district.
I mean, if I keep it real right now, my high school is closed, my middle school is closed, and my elementary is closed.
So my high school is closed, my middle school is closed, and we went to the same middle school. Yeah. Went to different high schools. And
I don't know if Tidwell is still.
I don't think Tidwell is still there. I could be wrong. And if somebody hears this and we're wrong, we're wrong. But I don't know if Tidwell is still there.
And so I thought about it. I was like, I couldn't even prove to you I went to school if I didn't go to college to get a degree.
Oh, and you know what? When I needed to get proof of high school, because I was applying for some grad schools at one point, and I needed to get proof of something from high school, I had to go through HISD records, and it took months for them to search for that stuff.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, so... And HISD, by the way, had to end up taking over North Forest ISD. So if you're wondering how that kind of led up to HISD taking over, they had to take over because there was a lot of stuff going on within the district.
Absolutely. So talk about that experience at A&M and some of the things that, may have been challenging during that time for you.
You know, it's so interesting because this will be my second time trying to gauge what all went down. I mean, it's been many times I've tried to, but second time within this week trying to gauge what happened at Texas A&M. And when the question that I've been asked before is, did you encounter racism at Texas A&M? And the short answer is yes, but I don't know how to paint the picture of how that looked. Because I think for so long as Black people and me as a Black woman, I compartmentalized all of these things that were happening. So whether it was a microaggression or whether it was someone, saying something on campus as I walk by, I think you compartmentalize those things. And people always say, well, maybe you didn't deal with anything at A&M. I say, well, that's a lie.
Whoa.
It was 3% Black people at A&M. We had 55,000 plus students, 3%. So imagine the small number of Black people that you saw consistently on a daily basis. It didn't happen. Like, we had the football team, which was majority Black.
Right.
But other than that, you really didn't see a whole lot of Black people. And so I was not forced, but I was in these different circles of groups because even at A&M, I was always very ambitious, trying to be in all the organizations, all that good stuff. And you were forced to be around different, ethnicities and races and all that kind of stuff. And one thing that I just remember being at A&M is I always remember this example of when President Barack Obama was running for office. These student organizations, basically there's a common area that people can go, right? Where student organizations can set up, like on most campuses, pass out flyers, pamphlets, whatever. So basically they set up this huge board situation. And there were many variations of this board on the plaza, but they set up one of them that I recall. And this was the first time he was running for office, and they started throwing eggs at his face. It was his face on the board. And I was just like, how is that okay? Like, how can we allow something like that to happen on the campus of Texas A&M University? It made all the national news outlets back then. And what was also neat about it was the response that it got from the Black football players on the team. Like, if you go and Google that story, you'll see the Black football players standing in front of Barack Obama's face like, I dare you to throw an egg at me.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah. And so anyways, there were many variations of that. And I think microaggressions is like the main thing that I would normally deal with at Texas A&M, just from white women second guessing whatever you're saying, going behind your back to clarify or to confirm or things along those lines. That's something that happens all the time. That's something that still happens now.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's
and so, they just second guess everything that you're doing. And not only that, like, you already have to work harder than most of the people there. So it's just a never ending situation, but hopefully we're working to try to change that.
Yeah, we're working. It's a slow change, but it's happening slowly. Yeah. So talk about time you've gotten in your career now. You graduated from A&M.
Yeah.
A time where it might have been just easy for you to give up or quit or say, is this really for me?
Big time. Well, first of all, when I first got to A&M, I had a biology test. Why they put me in biology my freshman year, I don't know. They saw my transcripts and where I came from, but that's a whole nother story. They like to weed people out.
Right.
So anyway, when I first got to A&M, I'm going to start there. I had a biology exam. I think it was either an 8 or a 13. out of 100 points
Oh, wow.
on the exam.
I was like,
and I'm like, yo,
15,
I mean, when I tell you my heart just dropped,
Right.
I was like, what am I doing here?
and that's tough because
how did I get here?
you were top of class, like where we came from.
Top 10%,
Yeah.
top, and you thought you were smart
Right.
going into these situations.
Right.
And you were smart in a lot of different ways, like street smart, hey,
Right.
don't touch me,
Exactly.
you know? And so anyways,
I just love
we made it work. And
Sorry.
I ended up talking to my advisor to try to get it situated. But anyway, that was one of the first times I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, I think back now, because I didn't know what mental health and all of that was back in the day.
Yeah.
But I think back now, it's like, dang, I was really depressed, like trying to figure that stuff out.
Wow.
It was heartbreaking
Wow.
to see a young person dealing with that. And again, I'm thinking back on my own life and so many different situations that have transpired. When I first got into journalism, as I told you, when I graduated from DePaul in Chicago, I moved back to College Station to get my first job in April of 2014. Got my first job at KAGS News in College Station, Texas. When I tell you, and I wanted to do sports initially. So I started off doing a little bit of sports, and then
Right.
I would do news most of the week. And I had people that made me feel like the scum of the earth. And I kid you not, I would go home crying, trying to figure out, like, okay, I really don't know nothing. I just finished my grad degree in journalism.
Yeah.
And people still made me feel like I didn't know a thing.
That's tough.
And I was just like, well, what am I doing? And now I look back, I'm like, oh, y'all was intimidated because y'all saw this little black girl who was so passionate about the things that she was trying to do.
Absolutely.
And willing to work hard at it.
Yeah.
And within, I believe it was within a year, don't quote me on the exact time frame, but I feel like it was within a year I got promoted from reporter to anchor. And I was asked to take on that position, right? And so just thinking about those situations and how things transpired, and as an older, more mature person, it's like, oh, you were intimidated.
Yeah, absolutely.
To see this black girl come. I was the
Absolutely.
only black reporter too.
Yeah.
You were intimidated by me coming in.
Absolutely.
And you saw my greatness before I even realized my greatness was
Man,
there.
Come on.
And so, yeah, there were many situations where I wanted to give up. And even now, like, it's still hard. I won't give up.
Right.
I say that many times. But even now, it's still hard because you really want to tell these stories, and you receive things like the email that the station sent.
Absolutely.
And, you know, people aren't sending the good emails, right? Like, if people like my work, yeah, they'll comment on social media, blah, blah, blah.
Nobody's
But
sending an
the
email.
bosses ain't seeing, you know, maybe they see social media, but they're not really seeing how people really feel, like all the messages that I'm getting into my inbox about the work that's being done.
Absolutely.
But those ones that want to get their voices out there, they gonna email me like, oh no, why is she doing that? Like, I don't like that story, you know?
Okay. So, you know, it's so funny. You talked about mental health, which is, it's a growing conversation, which I'm happy about. So could you speak to mental health and why it's important to manage and monitor it, and also what you see in the, not just the African-American community, just period, like mental health as a whole.
Yeah. I got to first start by saying, like, I'm not the best at managing my own mental health. Sometimes I go so hard because there are so many issues that I feel like I want to tackle.
Right.
And I feel like there's not enough time to do it. But I think I need to realize that it's okay to pass the torch and to allow someone else to take that torch, run with it. You get your rest, you come back and you pick it back up.
Right, right.
And so what I'm seeing is that a lot of people are feeling like that, from the activists that we have out there who are really going hard for Black Lives Matter, for people who are fighting social injustice, racial inequities, fairly every day.
Right.
That is tiresome.
Right.
And I see some of those people and I'm thinking in my head, like, I know how I feel and I'm not even going as hard as you. And so with those individuals and people in general, so that's what I've been seeing. But just in general, I feel like we all need to take better care of our mental health. Growing up, that wasn't something that we would discuss in my household at all. I had no clue about mental health
At all.
Anything that I knew about mental health would just be someone saying, and I know this isn't the right terminology, but they'll say, oh, she's special.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, y'all said that all those years about certain individuals. Now I look back like, man, that was messed up because we could have been helping those individuals.
Exactly.
And here we are, 10 years or whatever post being an adult, rather 10, 12 years, however many years being an adult. And it's just like all of those years that we were in our households, for me personally, we never talked about mental health. That just wasn't a conversation that was had. And so again, like I mentioned early on, next week will be my first session officially with a therapist.
That's awesome.
To just chat, because I have been dealing with a lot just from a standpoint of the the stories that I'm telling and witnessing everything that we're all dealing with in regards to, racial injustice and also just this pandemic. Like, I'm here, I'm single, I'm here by myself. Like, that's been a whole situation to move to a new city and to try to get to know the individuals there. One, because that's who you are, but two, it's part of your job to tell stories. And then three, people need to be around people, and that's just period point blank. Like, that's how we're wired to be around people.
Relationships are important.
So that's just been a constant struggle. And so I would just encourage people, whoever hears this, don't write it off. Like, if you feel a certain kind of way, if you want to get help, like, it's strong to get help. Like, people say, oh, you weak, or something wrong with you, or if I tell somebody I'm going to see a therapist, some individuals in my family be like, oh, you crazy? Girl, no, go get your help. Talk to that therapist.
Absolutely. No, it's funny you said that. I remember growing up, I didn't realize how, I didn't know what stress was. Like, we didn't talk about like, oh, I'm stressed. Like, I thought that was to be frank, I thought that was like something that white people deal with. I was like, and I get to college and I'm not operating at my full potential, but I'm not understanding what it is. Right. And so finally I'm like, okay, somebody put it to me like, bro, you just stressed out. And I'm just like, do I get stressed? Like, is that a thing? Like, I was like, maybe I am, and maybe I need to take more care of myself and maybe understand more about like what's going on in my head. Right. And even the trauma of just growing up, one in the hood or without a father, whatever the case may be, how those things affect you today. And I do believe in therapy, like you said, and how it can help you propel and unlock some areas of yourself that you have yet to tap into.
I love it.
So let's talk about career wise. You talked about kind of what you're dealing with. Do you have a goal, vision of, what the perfect, like, Tashara Parker has accomplished what she set out to do?
Well, I get asked that question a lot. My agent always want to know what's going on. But I would say that, a lot of people, let me just backtrack. So in this industry, a lot of people, if you talk to some of my colleagues, network is the goal. Mm-hmm. Network is ABC, NBC, like the GMAs, the Today Shows, Nightly News, 60 Minutes, all of those different things. That's network. And that's the goal for a lot of people in this industry. Right. That has never been my goal. Wow. I'm saying this on here, and now if I get to network, y'all, GMA call, hey, look, I'm ready to roll. But what I'm saying is it's never been the goal for me, because I don't know, unless they can create something where I'm able to fit into a space where I can still tell those stories that are really going to get people going and really make people feel something. I think it's going to be a hard sell for me to go to network when I can't tell the type of stories that I want to tell. Right. I want to have fulfilling work. That's like, amazing. When you die, when you're born, you have your year that you're born. When you die, you have your year that you die. Yeah. In the middle, you got your dash. Yeah. On my dash, I want it to be some stuff that I really am, passionate about. Absolutely. And so if I can't do that at the network level, then I don't know if that's for me. And I'm confident enough to say that. And I'm okay with saying that. That's beautiful. Now, if I can get to a point where network meant that I could have my own show, right? Yeah. And I could tell those stories that are uplifting. Think Oprah, but 20 years later, right. And I can tell those types of stories that really encourage people and show people overcoming obstacles and odds and just being these brilliant, amazing intellectual beings. That's the kind of stuff that I want to do. And I want to do that on a consistent basis. So if I could do something like that, that would be perfect. I love it. And you talked about earlier, so important. Somebody saw your greatness, but you didn't recognize your greatness. Yeah. Can you talk about, obviously, what was the switch that made you say, you know what, I am that. This is me. I am great. And then also speak to young ladies, young men, anybody who's trying to go after something who does not see their greatness right now. I would say, one, I still don't think I'm at a point where I'm truly understanding like what my value is. Yeah. Oh. I really don't think I'm there yet. Wow. Mentally, I don't think that I can truly grasp how dope it is. Yeah. I hear back from people all the time saying these things, but I don't think I've truly embraced it yet. I really don't. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's just my upbringing and, I try to be super chill about most things. I don't know what it is, but I don't feel like I've embraced it yet. However, the reason I mentioned that example early on was because I've seen the progression since my first station. Nice. And I'm like, man, you saw that long time ago. Yeah. And so when it comes to young people, hell, even older people,
Yeah.
you know, us,
Yeah.
who older than us, you know,
Absolutely.
you got people in their 30s and 40s still trying to figure out 50s, 60s, and that's okay. So I would just say, like, always go after what your heart says. If it's in your heart, if you do heart work, okay, like you can work hard your entire life, but if it's not heart work, work of the heart, you are never going to enjoy it and you are never going to feel fulfilled. And that's just, at the end of the day, it is what it is. And I know everybody wants to make money and you can still do that. But at the end of the day, unless it's something on the side that you're doing along with your job, if it's not work of the heart, it's never going to fulfill you.
Whew.
And so I would just say, continue to try to do things that when you finish, you're like, dang, that was work. That's work. That good story was work.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I mean by embracing who you are, because your heart is going to always lead you. I know people, when it comes to like relationships, certain relationships, that say, okay, girl, don't let your heart get you in trouble. But no, when it comes to your daily work, your heart will lead you, and allow God to be your guiding principle in all that you do.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Listen, I could just, the mic is on fire right now. I don't know what to do. I don't have insurance on it either. So no, like that's so good. That's so good. I always say, follow your heart, but take your mind with you.
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
You know what I mean? So
I like that a lot.
Sometimes people get in trouble. They're following their heart, but they're choosing not to think
Yeah.
and to grow and to become more efficient and effective at what you're doing. If you want to get to where you go, you know, definitely follow your heart, find your purpose, do what you're passionate about, but be smart about it. You know what I mean? Don't just be out here, you know, you say you want to be a dancer and you're not, you know, you're just dancing for no reason. You know, you haven't really thought about, okay, this is where I want to be in 5 years, or this is the strategy that I need to take to get to where I want to go.
And let me tell you this too, in regards to what you're saying, anything is possible right now. I know we say that, but y'all, anything you want to do, all the people that you want to reach out to, keep reaching out to them. I heard this one lady speak at a conference that I went to, an event I went to rather, and she basically said she emailed Mark Cuban of the Dallas Mavericks, right? Owner of the Dallas Mavericks. And she had this thing set up on her email where you could see not just if somebody opened it. We know about read receipts, not just if they opened it, but the exact time that they opened it. And so she kept emailing him and seeing the times that he would open emails. And I don't remember exactly if he responded or the full story, but it was just the fact that anything is possible. Any emails, any people you need to reach out to, you can reach those people. It's just being consistent, like you said, and thinking about whatever those things are, so that you can kind of put into motion what you need to do. Because a lot of people don't put it into motion. They think about it, they talk about it, they may not have the money to do it, but there are so many ways around all these different things. I really truly believe anything is possible. And me coming from Tyler to Dallas, that may not seem like a huge feat to some people, but I know how big that is to make that happen. So
that's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna try to get one more out of you. Can you pinpoint a time in your life where you can say, this changed me in a way and I'll never go back? Is there a moment?
Yeah. A few months ago. Yeah, a few months ago. I mean, there have been many pivotal moments in my life, of course. But what I'm saying in regards to a moment that I can think of here recently, it's literally been this whole George Floyd situation. When I was in Houston covering George Floyd, and the emotions that I felt there, and in journalism, that's not an emotion-led feel, right? You stick to the facts, you get the information out, and you can do that. But I also think people leave their heart at home, and that's what we're missing in journalism. And so I brought my heart with me to the story.
That's good.
And so when I was covering George Floyd, the funeral in Houston, that just hit me in a completely different way. And so I think from that point on, I said, look, I've been trying to tell community-focused stories for the last 4 or 5 years I've been in this business. But nah, baby, we got to take it up a notch. Nice. Whatever we got to do to make sure these black faces and people understand that we are human. Because I think had the officer felt like this is a human who's you know, I'm suffocating basically right now, I felt like he would have felt him as a person, as a man.
Right.
And I don't feel like that's what was done. So I want to show people that it's not hard to find black voices to show the human side of us. I hate that we have to do that, but it's something that I feel like I can do, because everybody has their role. You're playing your role, doing what you're doing. Right. Everybody has their role to play. And if you're not doing anything, I don't want to look back 20 years from now, whether my nieces, nephews, kids, if I have them, look back and say, okay, well, what were you doing in 2020?
Exactly.
How did you join the movement?
Exactly.
What did you do to make things better?
Exactly. Oh man, this is so good. Okay, so we're gonna play rapid fire.
Oh God.
You know, all you have to do, the only rule is to answer as quickly as possible.
Answer as quickly as possible.
Right. And so I'll say a word and you just say first word that come to mind.
Okay.
All right. And then we'll do like a this or that thing. All right. So first word, legacy. Okay.
Me.
Oh, there we go. Justice.
George Floyd.
Fitness.
Running.
Power.
Barack Obama.
Diva.
Mariah Carey.
Community.
Me.
Shea butter or coconut oil?
Shea butter.
Satin or silk?
Silk.
TV or social media?
Social media.
Michelle Obama or Beyonce?
I'm sorry, Mo. I already said your husband, Beyonce.
Forrest Brooke or Smiley? No, we already know the answer. We already know the answer to that. Favorite movie?
Oh my God, Step Brothers.
I did not see that coming.
It's coming. That's it.
Favorite color?
Red.
If you were an animal, you would be?
Tiger.
Biggest inspiration?
Tamara Hall.
Favorite time of the day?
When I'm off work.
Okay. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Passionate. Ambitious. Lover.
Man, I love it. All right, I got a little extended one for her for this episode. This is H-Town references. Just try to finish it. I'ma come
down.
Pop my
trunk.
Swinging and.
Wait, what? Hold on.
Swinging and.
I don't know this one.
Chopped and
screwed.
Okay, you got 3
Swinging and what, folks?
Swinging and banging.
Banging. Ah, come on, you should have hit it with it. Come on.
No, that's so good. Okay, so let's go. The people want to know what you're reading, watching, listening to. What do you do when nobody knows what you're doing?
I'm funny. I watch comedy. I love comedy. So when I get off work and I'm done doing all my social media stuff, I will literally sit on Netflix, Amazon Prime, whatever one you want to think about, and find me some kind of comedy to laugh at. Like, that's just my thing.
That's dope. Dope. Are you reading anything right now?
Yes. Oh my God. I just got Sean King's new book. I can't think of the title of it to save my life, but I just got Sean King's new book.
I'll put it in the episode notes. So that's watching and reading. And then what you listen to? What are you? Music, podcast, whatever?
Hip hop.
Okay.
Period.
Who's your favorite artist right now, I guess? Oh, no, all time, actually.
All time? Hip hop?
Hip hop, whoever you decide to.
Period is, I'm going to say Beyonce. Okay. I mean, that just is
so Beyonce
what it is.
Still got, actually you said Michelle. Go ahead.
Yeah. Beyonce would be my favorite artist of all
time. We go obituary question. Yeah, let's go obituary
question. What kind of question is that? What? Bro, what? Okay, go ahead.
It's year 2200 and you have now gone on to the other side and we're at your funeral and somebody reads your obituary. What does it say?
All of it or just a line?
Girl, if you don't just get it. No, just, what do you
The work you do doesn't have to be radical. It just has to be something that matters to you. Tashara was one of those individuals who consistently put in work. Wasn't always radical, but she made sure that it was front and center. Tashara loved people.
I feel like she practiced. Like, am I tripping? That was so good.
No.
That was so good. Okay.
Ow.
So let's do parting advice. Okay. So a lot of times I like to get either the best piece of advice you've ever gotten or just something that you like to give and leave with people. What's your parting advice?
I always just say, do the work. People are often afraid to do the work. Everybody claims they want to be great. Everybody claim They want to be the best at what they do, whatever their respective field is, but they're not willing to put in the extra time, the extra energy, the extra effort to make it happen. And it's going to take all of those things. So if you're somebody that wants to be great at what you do, you want to be the next whomever, you got to put in the work. And I mean, that's the biggest thing. I literally sometimes work 15, 16 hours a day. People don't see that on social media. But you got to remember, while all of y'all are asleep, I'm waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning to get ready for work. And I'm still up with all of y'all until 5, 6, 7 p.m. So I've been up all day, all morning.
That's insane.
So, yeah, do the work.
Okay. So I wanted to bring this up before we get out of here. I didn't get to talk about like your fitness journey and how much you've been doing marathons. You just did 31 miles. 31 miles in 30 hours.
Yeah.
Happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll let you, even though that parting advice was amazing, can you just speak to why is fitness so important to you? Because like you've been going ham.
Yeah, I think that's been one of my therapies. Fitness has been one of my therapies. I started running like that in Chicago, and it's so funny. Do you remember Coach Terrell from Forest Brook? He was a girls track coach, and I ran track in high school. I was a track captain too, by the way. Don't let nobody tell you differently. And so anyway, I ran track, and I was a sprinter in high school. And Coach Terrell saw that I was running all those miles, and he was like, "What you doing?" Yeah. And so anyways, I started running back in Chicago from just a therapeutic standpoint. You know, it would help me relieve stress, that stress that we didn't know existed until we got a little older, because it wasn't something we talked about in my household. Exactly. So I started running for therapy. And so it's very important to me that I get out there and I put my miles in. You know, a lot of people are afraid of running for whatever reasons. And I'm not saying people who physically can't do it, but some people just don't want to get out there and do it because of the mileage. They see that. I'm like, you just got to start. You got to start. Yeah. When you start, once you get down to that destination, you ain't got no choice but to come back. Exactly. So if you go out 6 miles or 2 or 1 or a half a mile, you have no choice but to come back. Man. And so that's what I like about running. I really, really enjoy it. And I love getting more people involved. I don't know if you remember, but I did a challenge online when this pandemic first started, mostly because I was like, look, I got to do something. Yeah. And I had people from across the country running with us. That's amazing. Just to reach 20 miles. And so amazing. We made it happen. So it's beautiful. And it's great how it brings people together too. Man, I love it. Yeah. Running for me is when I get to like empty out my mind and hear my thoughts clearly. Like, and so it's very therapeutic. A lot of times don't even run with music. You just running. Yeah. Man, Tashara Parker, this is amazing. I'm so happy to have you on the show. I am blessed. And just thank you for being my first guest out in Dallas, Texas, too. Yeah, Dallas. So, man, guys, thanks for tuning in again. This has been another episode of the Transformation Chamber. I'll see you soon. Thanks again for tuning in to the Transformation Chamber. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. To find out more about Tashara Parker, follow her at Tashara Parker or visit her website at TasharaParker.com. To find out more about the Transformation Chamber, follow me at Joshua T. Dada or visit my website at joshuatdada.com. Until next time, peace.